You're invited to pretty with me at my pretty party. It's your favorite auntie. Keep your pity, give me the party. I gotta look good, so I'm gonna be tardy.
What's up, my teacups and teapots? It's your favorite auntie, and I am back with another Sunday sip. All right, welcome to the party. For those of you who are new, my name is Joy, and I am your favorite auntie. So let's get into it. So the last couple of videos, I talked to you about Ruth and Naomi. I told you how Naomi flat out told her daughter-in-laws, like, move around. Go ahead on about your business because, I ain't got nothing else for you. There's nothing else I can do for you. Like, move on with your life. There's nothing else, like, I have to offer you at this point. That probably was the wrong way for her to say it, but keep in mind that she was grieving. So Naomi probably, didn't consider their grieving as well, But she did have a concern for their future, which is why she was like, hey, like, go back to your family, try to start that process all over again. There are no grandchildren here, so, you guys got another shot because I have no sons for you. But anyway, if you keep on reading in the chapter, you will find that Naomi did have something left available. She had experience, she had knowledge, and she had wisdom. So that was something that she offered Ruth in order for her to get Boaz. What led me to that example was the fact that in the what's that, social media streets, that Tia Kemp was offering her advice, wisdom, and experience to Krishan Rock, and it was this whole back and forth thing, and it was a misunderstanding. And you have to be healed. You have to be in a safe space in order to receive wisdom from someone. I'm going to tell you why. Because the person that God uses to give you insight may not know how to speak to you correctly. And I'll touch more on that a little bit later, because we're going to talk about how Solomon asked God for wisdom to know how to interact with his people, with God's people. All right, so, I can understand and I can see how both parties would feel with the communication or the back and forth that's going on. And I would just hope that both understand that God is there, God is in it, God is all seeing, God is all knowing. And if it's coming from a place of love, out of love, then it should be received that way. So let me just go ahead and take a moment and pray over this video, that whoever watches this video receives it from love, for love, and by love. Everything that I speak is from love, for love, by the love of God. Okay? So I can see how Ruth, Krishan, may not be in a place to receive why her mother-in-law, Naomi, Tia, would even offer the information in the way that she did. Okay? So yeah, go back and read the book of Ruth, and it's only 4 chapters, and you'll be able to get insight, and you'll see how, if both parties are grieving and both parties are not in a safe, peaceful space, then the dialogue can be off and the communication that God is trying to send through will not be receptive. I'm going to leave that there. All right. Then I talked to you about the shenanigans that's going on in the church. Woo! Shenanigans. At this point, I don't even understand why or how church leaders are still doing the very thing that they are preaching against. I don't understand it after all this time. After, oh, man, I just don't get it. If Joy has stepped up and said, look, if Joy has stepped up and said, God is all seeing and all knowing, if Joy has stood before you and said, well, count it all joy, at some point, I would think that these folks would understand. Obviously not. But anyway, so there's a lot of exposure going on in the church, okay? And I'm not going to call out any names, but I am going to say that this has led me to Acts chapter 19, 11 through 18. Go back and read that chapter 19, verses 11 through 18. And you'll see how, now, honey, if you are going to preach the word of God, you got to be squeaky. Ain't none of us out here squeaky clean. But you, baby, you got to be as close to it as possible. Because the very demons that you're trying to rebuke will raise up against you and be like, no, I don't think so. And that's exactly what's happening right now. At this very moment, there is a particular pastor, bishop even, who is being tortured by a demon because of an unclean act that took place. And I'll say that and leave that there. So in Acts chapter 19, 11 through 18, you'll find how the demon whipped the behind of 7 priests or Jewish men who was trying to cast it out. And the demon was like, well, who are you? Like, who are you? Because Jesus I know, Paul I know, but you, And I say that to say, you know, when you're living in sin, the enemy knows. The enemy knows, and the enemy will tell his army of demons, and you won't have any power. You won't have any power until you have put in the work to defeat. Until you have put in the work to defeat some things, you've gone through the process of understanding some things, and until you have grown in wisdom to judge righteously, you know, your dealings in life and the people that you're going to come in contact with, you won't have no power. You won't have no power. All right. So Auntie wants to help you get some power, okay? So let's talk about your Goliaths, okay? Let's talk about your Goliaths. Things that you would have to defeat in order to gain your power, keep your power, and just live in your power. All right? Let me pull up some notes. All right. All right. So where are we going today? Oh, wait. Hold on. Okay. All right. Let me close that background so that doesn't happen. again. We were about to have some music with this video. Need some, right? I could bust out a song if you want me to. Just type in the comments if you want Auntie to bust out a song for you on the next video. I'll sure enough do it now. Alright, so last week or last month, my pastor talked about the Goliaths. You gotta say it right. The Goliaths that we would have to defeat in life, and there are a few. All right, and I want to go over some with you. All right. So before I said how in 1 Kings 3:9 Solomon asked for wisdom to accurately judge the people that he would interact with, go in and come out, because some people are more sensitive than others. Some people are going through things at the time that you might encounter them, and you gotta have the wisdom and have the know-it-all to see, like, oh, well, I can't say this, or I have to be mindful of that before I say this or that to the person, because you just never know how somebody else will interpret what you're saying, which is why you have to always say a prayer, like, whatever comes from me and whoever receives me, let it be received from love, for love, out of love. You have to put that out there. But anyway, God responded to Solomon and was like, well, if you obey me, I'm going to give you more than what you asked for. I'm going to give you honor, wealth, and a long, healthy, anointed life. That's what God responded. All right. In order to get that, though, you're going to have to defeat some Goliaths. And if we go back, we see that David, his father, had to defeat the champion of the Philistines, Goliath. All right, so what could be some of your Goliaths? Oh, let me see. I'm going to take that and put that there. All right. Excuse me. I have to burp a little bit. All right, so the Goliath of self. Auntie wants you to be aware of yourself, okay? Be aware of yourself. What affects you in your everyday, day-to-day dealings? What triggers you, what makes you ticks, what makes you uncomfortable, what do you enjoy, what do you like, what don't you like. You have to know yourself. You have to be aware of yourself. You have to be aware of how you make decisions and why you make decisions, okay? You have to be aware of that. Also, you have to be mindful of the atmospheres and environments that you go into, because those will affect you, okay? You have to find a safe space, safe places to go. If you don't have that, you have to create that for yourself. Definitely stay away from the places and the spaces that will trigger you, that will invite you to do things that you don't need to do, that will lead into sin and go against who you are and what you're trying to become as the best version of yourself. You have to be mindful of that. The next thing that you will have to slay is sex. Now, that's a heavy topic. That birds and beads topic you should definitely have with your parents. But just in case you don't have parents, or just in case you're unable to talk to your parents, or just in case you don't have that type of relationship with your parents, or whatever, what have you, your auntie is here to tell you that it's hormonal, it's natural. Everybody has that same feeling at some point in their life, and some have it more intensely than others, but you have to personally control that thing. And trust me, there is not a person out here, an adult person out here that does not struggle with controlling that thing. Don't let them fool you, okay? All right, but you're gonna have to get a hope to that. All right. And at this point, I'm gonna tell you too, with that sex thing, keep in mind that God is all seeing and God is all knowing. Okay, keep that in mind. All right. All right, the next point, or the next slay that you will have to do is the Goliath of sound. Until you have gained control over yourself, become disciplined in your actions, stay away or try to refrain from the music, movies, and TV shows that release the sounds that tickle your ears or appeal to your senses, that will invite you or lull you into thinking that it's okay. And I'm going to pause this video because a train is coming and I don't want you to hear the train horn, so I'll be right back with you. All right, we're back. So we talked about, let's go over the ones that we talked about so far, the Goliaths that you will have to I get a little tongue tied right there. So the Goliaths that you will have to slay. We talked about self. We talked about the atmospheres and the environments. We talked about sex. We talked about sound. All right, that was the last one that we left off on before I paused the video because of the train. But anyway, the last one that we'll talk about is substances. All right. So substances are everywhere. And that's something, the substance thing is something that you'll have to be very, very careful of, because it sneaks in, just like sound, it sneaks in. And, you know, if you're not like fully aware, you'll be hooked. You'll be hooked, you'll be addicted before you know it. So there are several ways that it can sneak in. Number one, if you are injured and you're prescribed medication and you get addicted to the medication, that's common. More common is the drugs and alcohol that is used from generation to generation throughout our bloodline, throughout our family. So that's why we say that, you know, I'm going to be the one to break generational curses, because the drugs and the alcohol is a common thing. It's a social thing, you know, so it's easy to allow that Goliath to sneak in up on you and attack you and overcome you. So you have to be aware, and your auntie is making you aware of that right now. All right. Let's see. If you're not aware of it, it can sneak up on you. It can be a way of escapism. Like if you go through life and it starts off like, oh, I'm just going to casually, socially just partake in a drink, or weed. I don't know what y'all doing now. Pills or whatever you're doing. Whatever is going on out there is plentiful. It's available. And you have to be careful. You have to be mindful of that thing. You have to have self-control, be self-aware, be cautious of your environment. So look, your auntie is trying to help you. Your auntie is trying to help you get the wisdom, the wealth, the honor, and the long life that you deserve, because you deserve that. All right. But again, you have to obey God in order for you to get that. All right. So that's why we're talking about these Goliaths now. All right. Now, again, I stated that you've basically seen, you know, the drugs and alcohol used in your family. You get it from the TV, movies. And, you know, if you are in your adult life, you're definitely going to get it on the party scene. And it's common. It's common, but you have to understand from a spiritual level or a spiritual aspect, it goes against the fiber of God. So you got to be mindful. All right. You got to be mindful that that thing doesn't get on you and stick to you. All right. So that's that. Oh, let me give you the Bible verses. All right. Did I write them down? All right. So, David and Goliath, you're going to find that in 1 Samuel 17:48. And it reads, "So it was when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hurried and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. Then David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone, and he slung it and struck the Philistine in his forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth." When you see that thing coming to you, you got to pull out your stone and you got to sling it, and you got to sling it hard enough to make it stick. Okay? And that's that. All right? And that's that right there. Okay? You got to sling that thing and make that thing stick so it falls like, no. All right? So go back and read 1 Samuel chapter 17. Did I say verse 19? No, 1 Samuel chapter 17. Read from 40. Go from 40 to 49. No. Go from 40 to 50. Chapter 1 Samuel chapter 17 verses 40 through 50. Go read that. Now, when you what we talked about Solomon and the promise that God gave Solomon. Hang on. All right. You're going to find that in 1 Kings. Let me go to 1 Kings. For your glory. I will do anything. I want to be where you are. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 9. So Solomon, okay, 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 9. So Solomon asked God, therefore give to your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours? And then God responded and said, if you go down a couple of chapters, he said, because you have asked this thing and have not asked long life for yourself, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern justice. Behold, I have done according to your word. See, I have given you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has not been anyone like you before you, nor shall any like you arise after you. And I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be anyone like you among the kings all your days. Boom. Oh, so that was 1 Kings chapter 3. We started at verse 9. Read that down to verse 13. Now go to verse 14. 1 Kings chapters 3 verse 9 through 14. All right, my teacups and teapots, that's all I got for you right now. Thank you for coming to my pretty party. I hope you enjoyed this Sunday sip. And I pray that you are well wherever you are. I pray your strength in dealing with whatever you're going through. I pray continued blessings wherever you are. Yeah, I pray that for you. If nobody else, is doing that for you, just know you got an auntie out here that is really, really concerned about, your life, concerned about how you're living, and concerned about your future. All right. So until next time, my teacups and teapots is your favorite auntie. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Make sure you pick this video apart to get what you need from it, and save it and come back to it, when you have your moment and you need some encouragement, because life is going to life, but you have to keep going. You have to be prepared, armored up with that word of God, okay? And you have to get through to get to. All right? Don't forget that. Until next time, thanks so much for joining me.